Alan Fisher now, who's live for us from the White House. So, Alan, what kind of tone can we expect from Joe Biden then? What will he be hoping to get across?
Well, we're getting some idea of the lines that he's going to use. He's going to make the point that America doesn't have kings or emperors, and he will tell those who tune in this primetime address that history is in your hands, power is in your hands, the idea of America lies in your hands. And he'll make the point that defence of democracy is more important than any title. We will be looking to see if he gives reasons for why he decided to step out of the race on Sunday. Is it about his health? We're told by his press secretary it is not. So therefore, is it simply politics that he looked at the polls and realised that if democracy was at risk, then he was not the man to beat Donald Trump because he was behind in all of those? And if it is health, and we're told it's not, then how does that impact him doing his job between now and January the 20th next year? Will it impact that at all? We're hearing Republicans saying that if he can't run for president, then he can't be president and should actually offer his resignation. That simply isn't going to happen. And then what will this mean for the rest of his term? He's effectively said that he's a lame-duck president. He doesn't have a great deal of power. There's not a great deal more he can do in the 4 months before the election and the 6 months before he hands over power to the next president. And can he push through any legislative agenda? It's highly unlikely that he has the power or the clout to do that. And what is he going to say about Kamala Harris? He, of course, gave her his complete endorsement on Sunday. The Democratic Party looks as if by August the 1st they will confirm her as the candidate. But what will he say? This is a hugely important moment in American politics. It is rare for a president to go on prime time on the television networks across America from the Oval Office and give us the details of why he is not running for president. The closest thing we've come to this before was in 1968 when LBJ, Lyndon B. Johnson, decided that he would not run again. So this time we want to see, what is Joe Biden going to say? How does he say it? Because remember, that debate performance effectively killed his presidency. And what's he going to do in the coming months?
Alan, thanks very much indeed. A Republican presidential nominee, Donald Trump, has taken his election campaign to Charlotte in North Carolina. Trump is telling supporters that Joe Biden was pushed by leaders of the Democratic Party to quit the presidential race. He said the move was undemocratic and that Biden's nominee for president, Kamala Harris, is the most incompetent far-left vice president in U.S. history. Let's have a listen to what he's saying right now.
Against all orders. In upstate New York 2 months ago, another 15-year-old girl was attacked by an illegal alien that just walked into our country, assaulted with a metal pipe, abducted, driven to an isolated area, raped and killed. And in Texas last month, 12-year-old Jocelyn Nungari was tied up, sexually assaulted, and strangled to death by 2 illegal aliens who Biden and Harris released into the United States and refused to get them out. What kind of a vice president or what kind of a border czar allows these monsters to come into our country? And this is just a small portion. These people are here now by the hundreds of thousands. And remember this, it's like anything else. They're just getting comfortable. They've just gotten here a little while ago. So you haven't seen the kind of crime that's going to be inflicted on our country. They're just getting comfortable. They're getting used to being here. They don't know about the words politically correct yet when you catch them and you do nothing, and then you catch them again and do nothing. They don't know. The only time they do something, if it happens to be Trump, because he talks about how the rigged election was a disgrace. Oh, he should get the electric chair because he said the election was rigged. But if you rape and kill somebody and strangle them and dump them in a creek, that's okay with these people because they're crazy. And we don't want these people running our country anymore. What kind of person allows innocent American girls to be raped and murdered while keeping our border wide open? Never change it. Never change it. You know, they passed for the election about 2 weeks ago. They passed something that's meaningless. It's absolutely meaningless. But you know that, Brandon,
Well, Donald Trump speaking there to his supporters, speaking about migration in that particular moment. For more on this, let's cross to Phil Lavelle, who joins us live from Charlotte, North Carolina. Now, that's where Donald Trump is speaking. Phil, Trump making an address to his supporters there. What's he going to be focusing on then going forward?
Well, I mean, it is almost exclusively focused on Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, even as you just heard when he moves on to the subject of migration, which is a huge issue for him. And it's something that he always talks about at these events to his supporters. He brought it back to Kamala Harris because this is one of the attack lines that he is going along with, the fact that she was the, quote, border czar. And migration, as he says, is completely out of control. Now, it was a mere seconds after Donald Trump took to the stage that we started hearing those attacks on Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And he's not held back, as you would expect. I mean, he's referred to her as a lunatic. He has said she is so radically left that she makes Bernie Sanders look moderate. And he's accused her of crimes. He says that for years, she covered up Joe Biden's cognitive decline. She had a hand in that, and she has lied to the American people. Now, this was something that we expected because ever since Joe Biden on Sunday said that he would not seek re-election, and then it became apparent that Kamala Harris will almost certainly be the person that he is running against, the rhetoric has really sharpened against her. We've heard J.D. Vance, his number two, refer to her as Joe Biden, but a million times worse. And we've seen the Republicans launch these attack ads in swing states where they've attacked her on the border policies. And again, as I said, like you just mentioned, saying that she covered up Joe Biden's cognitive decline. And all we can expect over the coming months as we get nearer to that election is for that rhetoric to get sharper and sharper and sharper and almost exclusively focus on her record and trying to discredit her, not necessarily just in the eyes of people here because they're already locked in with their support for him, but those undecided voters.
And Phil, right now, presumably security there is as tight as ever in the circumstances.
Yeah, so this is an indoor stadium. So anybody that went in there had to be vetted. They had to go through body scanners, the body ones, to check that there were no weapons. And that's similar to what we saw in Michigan at his rally there with J.D. Vance on Sunday. And we understand from reports in the US media that the Trump campaign has now said that it is not going to hold any more outdoor rallies for the foreseeable future, except in some cases where they may hold small events in very either remote locations or what you might refer to as sanitized locations where there is no chance that anybody with a weapon could get anywhere near the former president. Obviously, this is because of what happened with that assassination attempt and also the fact that we've heard that the person who tried to take Donald Trump's life had flown a drone nearby, had researched the assassination of JFK. Obviously, Donald Trump is a big target, as is J.D. Vance, as is Kamala Harris. And because of that, they want to make sure that if they can keep the audience and keep the former president safe. And just briefly, let me just point out, you might notice that people are starting to leave here. Now, there is a steady stream of people leaving, even though Donald Trump is still on stage, even though these people, some of them queued for up to 8 hours to see him. And I can tell you why, because I just spoke to somebody. This is something that we see at all of these rallies. Because Donald Trump takes to the stage, usually a bit late, and he can go on for hours. Brevity is not one of his. People often leave after an hour because, quite simply, they can't stand any longer and they want to beat the traffic. And that's what these people are doing now.
Phil Lavelle, thanks very much for that update.